Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prep Football Preview presented by FriendshipCars.com. I'm Kenny Hawkins, along with my tag team partner, Jesse Crawl, and we're headed to Week 7 of high school football.
It's blown by,
I
man.
mean, yeah, I was about to say, man, it's almost over. Week 7 of the high school football season is tomorrow night in Tennessee. Week 6, of course, is in Virginia. So let's preview our top games of the week, beginning with South Green and Hampton. This is one of the best games in the area last season. Both teams came into this game unbeaten. It was my somebody's has got to go game, which happened to be the Bulldogs, and that's where we'll start tonight with Hampton. This is a Hampton team that has averaged 30 points in the last 3 games against South Green, and they've lost 2 of those. 30's not enough?
Well, hey, you got Luke Myers on the other side, man.
Wow.
I don't care how many points you got. You're never safe with number 1 under center. But, you're talking about this Hampton team. They also have a great quarterback under center. Number 4, Connor Jones. I mean, this kid is an absolute animal when it comes to the backfield. Whether he's throwing the ball, running the ball, it doesn't matter. This kid can bring it. He also plays on the defensive side, too. He's pretty good at there as well. But you got kids like Levi Lunsford, Chance Point, Jonathan Greenwell. All those guys are able to bring that juice and that lumper that I'm always looking for. And, they were, I'm going to say, dominant last week. Outgained Happy Valley 369-51 in a 48-0 win. I mean, when you're able to put points up like that and contain an offense like that, I don't care who you're playing, that's impressive.
And the thing about it is, you talk about that defensive unit, and to me, in a game like this with South Green, that's the key. I mean, I know you want to score points, but 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be able to outscore them. At some point, this defense is going to have to take a bigger stand. We all remember what happened last year, Luke Myers. Hampton fans still to this day say he didn't score. South Green said that he got in. Yeah. I mean, but the defense, I think, has got to come up big for the Bulldogs.
Well, I think what helps Hampton is obviously they have a lot of film on Luke Myers, but last year it was his first year starting under center. So this Hampton team, a lot of these kids are returning on the defensive side, so they've already seen what he can do. They've gotten a good taste of what that offense does. Now, am I saying that Hampton's going to be able to contain him the whole game? No, not even close. I mean, no defense can do that. The only thing you can do is hope to stop him, and obviously that's easier said than done. But South Green, obviously they're 4-2 on the season, but I think they're 4-1. I think there's a forfeit there.
No, they were 2.
There's 2.
Yeah, because remember they lost.
Knox Catholic
and
Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Excuse me. I'm getting all these COVID, losses. I see a record, and I for some reason, whatever. But no, this South Green team, I mean, they bring a lot to the table. Obviously, you got Myers, Chandler Fillers, Cody Rambo. First time I've seen that kid's name on my notes, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to keep on writing that down every week. Cody Rambo. Caleb Robinson, Clint Lamb also brings a lot to the table. But I think with Hampton, it's the secondary just needs to be able to step up and read Myers because he's got a great set of wheels on him. But last week he had 249 passing yards and 4 touchdowns and just 98 rushing yards. So obviously you can get it done on both aspects. But, I mean, the kid can sling it.
The thing about it is, when you think about these 2 teams, it's almost looking in a mirror.
100%.
Would you not think? Listen, because if you're South Green and you're facing Hampton, well, you're facing Connor Jones.
Yeah.
If you're Hampton and you're facing South Green, you're facing Luke Myers. They're kind of the same people.
Exactly.
In fact, don't both of them wear number 1?
4 and 1.
Oh, 4 and 1. Okay. But they're
low numbers.
But they play almost the same type of game.
Yeah.
I mean, they are both mobile quarterbacks. Both can, once they get outside of the pocket, can kill you, and they both have pretty good arms. I just think that there's a lot of similarities between these 2, and you would think that the defenses would be used to that since they go up against it every day in practice.
Well, yeah, that just makes everyone better, and I think that's why these games the past couple of years have been so good because these teams are so good, not just under center, but the whole line, the defense, the secondary, linebackers. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always playmakers on every level. But I think what makes this game so good is that these 2 teams are so well-rounded and they bring so much to the table, but they're also the same exact team in a shell. So I think that's why they're so competitive and why they play so well against each other. And it's gonna. I honestly think it's gonna be a really, really amazing game because I was at that South Green last year, and that place was going nuts, let alone the play on the field was amazing as well.
I think so as well. This year's winner clinches at least a tie for the league title. If the Rebels win, it will be their title outright. Hampton still has a regional game to go, and I think they're playing the CG Cumberland Gap. And let's be honest, no disrespect to the Gap, but that should be a Hampton win. We had an opportunity to talk to the Bulldogs, and they know what is on line or what is at stake Friday night.
It's huge for our program. It's huge for our community. We got a lot riding on this game. It's conference seeding, it's playoff seeding. We feel like they're a very good football team, and we expect a 4-quarter game, and hopefully we can come out with a W.
This game's got a lot of weight on its shoulders. That's just that gives many reasons for each team to come out and be prepared and have a good week of practice and make sure to get the job done.
This is a big game for us. We've had a lot of competition against them, and it's just going to be a really big game this season.
The quarterback's an absolute stud. Luke Myers, he's been there. He's a second-year quarterback. His brother was there before him. You can look in every game that they've played this season, and he's accounting for, probably 90% of their offense, either throwing it or running it. We have to do a good job of tackling him, and you just have to be able to stay locked up on the receivers as well.
I feel like this game is going to have a lot to do with later on in the playoffs and with what's going to happen when it comes down to when it's time.
Now, South Green started this season with a bruising schedule. We just touched on it a second ago. They played Daniel Boone, and then they played Knox Catholic. Barely losing that first one to Daniel Boone. It was at home. But since then, this is a Rebels team that is they're back on track. And I don't care what you say, both teams, and I know South Green is the same, they have circled this week at the beginning of the year.
Oh, I mean, that's just, even after last year, people were probably wondering when the game was between these two teams after the exciting contest last year. But this South Green team, as I mentioned, I mean, you can go down the list. I mean, obviously Luke Myers at the top of that. And looking at some of these highlights, like I said, I was at this game, and this game was absolutely bonkers. I mean, the way they were able to bring the energy and the juice and the intensity, I think this is shaping up to be a good rivalry. Now, I don't know how this is going to – I don't know who's coming in. I don't know the classes coming in or what these kids are going to look like. But this year's, I think it's a tipping point because you have senior Luke Myers. You have a senior in Connor Jones, guys that have been faces for these programs for the past couple of years. And, I mean, week in and week out, these guys are absolutely bringing it. And, I mean, it's just impressive. And to be able to do stuff like that, with South Green's team and, be able to kind of have that underdog mentality and then come into this year – guns a-blazing. I mean, I'm excited. I'm just getting lost for words because I'm already jacked up for this game. I'm excited to see how this turns out.
And, of course, we're taking a look at highlights a couple of years ago. This game played in Hampton against South Green. Of course, last week South Green played against West Green, and West Green came into that contest unbeaten. West Green's had a really good season so far. South Green taking them down with the win. So, to recap, there is a lot at stake here, right? A lot. If you're South Green, if you beat Hampton, you win it outright. Hampton, you still have another game if you win that against Cumberland Gap. So basically, whoever wins this game takes the district or the conference, and you pretty much put yourself down for home field advantage for most of the playoffs.
Well, it's like Greenville and Elizabethton, kind of on the smaller class scale. It's we're going to see these two again in the playoffs, or we should at least, which will be exciting.
All right, let's move on to game number 2. West Green is taking on Cloudland. There are two schools in different divisions. The Buffaloes, 3A, the Highlanders, single A. This series is tied at 11-all. But West Green has won the last 3. Last time they played was 11 years ago. So these are two teams that have not played that much. And, of course, we began by talking about the Highlanders. And with that being said, of course, you got to start with the Birchfield. Seth Birchfield last week ends up with 3 touchdowns, and his brother Kyle had a touchdown as well.
I'm telling you, it's just the family lineage in Cloudland is absolutely amazing. We love talking about the Birchfields. But yeah, you talk about that win over Cosby, 52-18. They recorded 337 yards, so obviously just a dominating performance from that squad. You brought the Birchfields. You also have Caleb Sluter, who's also another great back. Gage McKinney on the outside. Chase Shell is under center. So this team, like a lot of teams, in Carter County, they got some weapons. They can sling the ball around. They can move the ball around the field. And I think this Cloudland team, I think week in, week out, we always say it, you got to win the battle in the trenches. And I think that's what this team really needs to do if they want to find success against this West Green team. We
talk a lot about the Birchfields, but you mentioned just a moment ago, Chase Shell has done a pretty good job at quarterback. One of the things he was excited about coming into this year with new coach Zach Benfield was the fact that he gets to throw it.
Mm-hmm. And
A lot of these Cloudland teams, all they do is run.
And that works for him. Whatever you want to do, it works for you. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, you bring up Chase Shell. He's able to, kind of let the peacock fly a little bit. You got to let him, spread his wings. And, Benfield's done a great job in his first year, and I think it helps that he's been part of this program. And you kind of made a joke a couple of weeks ago that, hey, I covered him as a player, and now he's a coach, and now it's come kind of full circle. But when a coach knows the program in and out and has been part of the success, it's kind of cool to see that.
I gotta ask you, can a peacock fly?
I have no idea.
When you said that, I started thinking, have I seen a peacock fly? Surely it does, right?
I know ostriches can't fly.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, I guess the peacock can fly.
I don't know. We're going to have to look that up. Someone on Facebook
never heard that reference before, but you threw it out there. So, we're going to have to look it up. We had an opportunity, obviously, to head up to Roan Mountain and talk to Cloudland about this football game and about the fact they're taking on a bigger West Green, but, they say they won't be backing down.
They run a 5-front. And they do a lot of stuff within that 5-front. And they're very, very disciplined on defense. And they also have some good athletes. They got some really good backs. So if we don't play discipline, it's going to be a dogfight.
It was a tough loss for us, and we knew it'd be a challenge. But we knew coming back into practice that we had to come back and focus harder and practice harder, and knowing that we had to come more mentally prepared and to win these games if we're on out.
No matter who we're playing, we try to focus on what we can do and what we can control. Whether that's playing a really good 3A team or whether that's playing a tiny 1A team. We try to worry about ourselves, and the way that we play does not change, because if it starts to change, then I don't really think improvement's there.
Got all our fans there, Mama, Papa, your community backing you up. You grew up there. It's just special.
Our fans are the best fans, I think, in the state. They're loyal, they come, and they're supportive, and it's amazing. Playing in football in Roan Mountain on a Friday night it's awesome. I love it.
Awesome. Is there anything else?
Sun is bright up there on Roan Mountain.
Hey, you're going to have some success, dude. You get the sun's up there, you know what I'm saying?
Z had put on the dark glasses, a little bit like Tom Cruise, as you were saying. But Cloudland, of course, getting ready for this contest against West Green, who's been kind of one of the big surprises this year so far by jumping out to a 4-1 record. They were 4-0 till I just mentioned they lost to South Green, the only loss for them this season. As I mentioned, these are two teams that haven't played for a while. They're 11-11. West Green is the bigger school. So is it one of those situations they are expected to win?
A little bit, but we also know how Cloudland comes into this game. And, I mean, they're good too. So it's kind of one of those things like we just dealt with last week, Greenville and Dobbins-Bennett. Yeah. I mean, Greenville obviously has an amazing roster, and Dobbins-Bennett obviously has an amazing roster, and, but Dobbins-Bennett's bigger, so people probably would have, thought that way. But all I can tell you about this, West Green better pick it up in the first half. When I didn't even know this until I looked at the stats. Only 14 yards in the first half in their game against North Green last week. And no disrespect on North Green, but, you should be chalking up a little bit more yards than that. I mean, that's kind of and they kind of got bailed out by their defense with 4 takeaways in that first half. So, obviously a great job by the defense, coming up and, showing out. But if you're only getting 14 yards in the first half against Cloudland, I can tell you this much, you're going to be finding an L column real quick because you can't be doing that. So, they did finish with 144 total yards. That also needs to go up if you're going to beat Cloudland. So, I think the biggest thing with West Green is really, pounding the box, being able to shut down the first 2 levels, because when you're able to do that and, fill those gaps and take away those blockers that Cloudland has, you're going to be shutting down the run game.
I wonder if any team, and maybe they have tried it and they've just not been able to accomplish it, but I'm just wondering if any team has ever tried to make Cloudland one-dimensional. In other words, we're going to flood the box. We're going to put everybody on the box, and we're going to make you beat us through the air. Now, I'm not saying that Shell can't throw the football because he's shown that he can, but I'm just wondering if anybody's tried, I'm sure they have, but tried to make Cloudland one-dimensional.
That'll be interesting to watch tomorrow. If they're able to stack the box like you just mentioned and being able to kind of overload the Cloudland offensive line, that's what this team really needs to do with West Green. And obviously, teams probably have tried it, but it's not really to any success. Cloudland's 4-1. They're doing a great job this year. So I think that's how good this offensive line is for Cloudland. I mean, they're able to pave the way, for Birchfield, Sluter, all those kids being able to run up those gaps. And I think that also helps the pass game as well because, you keep on running the ball, and then all of a sudden, lure in that secondary. They bite on a play action, and you just throw it over the top.
All right, let's head to our game number 3. We got Jefferson County and Dobyns-Bennett. The Indians are hoping to bounce back after being pounded last week from Greenville last week. 3-2 Jefferson County might be what the doctor ordered since they have won the last 5. The Indians have won the last 5 against the Patriots. If you're Dobyns-Bennett, you're 6A. You got beat pretty bad by a 5A.
Mm-hmm.
What does Joey Christian have to go in there and say to his team this week to get back up? Because this is when it counts, because you're taking on another 6A team, and both of you come into this contest, I think, unbeaten.
And I think that's the toughest part, the toughest pill to swallow. And I think they knew going into that Greenville game, this team is going to be tough. They're not going to just roll over just because we're a bigger class. So they've got a lot of experience on their team. I know that they're young, but they also, have been winning games this season, so they know how to bounce back. But, you got Jake Carson, Jonathan Gillespie, Ishan Graves, all these guys on the, offensive side that, are studs. And you can't let last week's loss knock you down and bring that confidence away because you had a lot of confidence going into that game. You were undefeated, one of the top-ranked teams in this area. All right, it's going to happen. Not all teams go undefeated. Guess what, though? We got to pick ourselves back up because this is when the games really matter. Put that in the rearview mirror. As I think it was, who was it this past week? I think Jalen Hurts talked about the loss they just had this past week against the Cowboys. It's just like a dookie. You flush it down the toilet, and it's done. I'm telling you.
Oh my goodness!
So,
I've already forgot about the peacock.
So we're just. I'm telling you. Hey, folks, if you're watching this, you'll be surprised.
Oh
I'm telling
my
you.
goodness!
So, but
Where's
that's
Eli Manning when you need him.
Hey, I ain't flicking no birds. I tell you that much. I'm flipping no birds. But that's me. Honestly, Joey Christian probably would say the same thing. You know how his personality is. He'd say that type of thing.
Oh my goodness!
But just looking at the offense, brag up those guys. But also on the defensive side, Levi Evans, Hinsher, those guys also bring it as well. So.
But my question on defense, let me ask you this: if there's one positive that you take from that game, if you're Dobyns-Bennett, is it we need more work up front in stopping the run because Gudger gouged them.
Yeah.
He had like 4 touchdowns, almost 200 yards. Obviously, there was a problem up front.
Well, I think that's, and I might sound like an idiot here, but I think that negative turns into a positive because now you just got tested, and now you know what we need to work on, like you just mentioned. Sometimes when you take a pretest, all right, I don't know the answers for these. Well, now you know an answer that you need to address in practice going into this stretch of the season where these games count, where these games are crucial to your schedule. And that front line. All right, what was working for us? What wasn't working for us? All right, if we need to do better job filling the gaps, if we need to do better with stunts, if we need to do better contain it, whatever they need to do, that's what they need to address this week because the offense has plenty of weapons.
Yeah.
But we know Greenville's defense is amazing. That's just how it is. They're gonna most likely compete for the state championship. So. Jefferson County's tough, though. Their 2 losses came by a combined 9 points. So this team easily could be undefeated if they wanted to, probably a couple of possessions away from going, 5-0. But they are coming off a 28-12 win over Morristown East. But yeah, this is a big league game, man.
No, it is. You're right. It's just some of the things. Now, here's the thing. I don't think, and I don't know the rest of DB's schedule offhand, but I really doubt they're going to face anybody as good as the team they just faced this past week
100%.
Against Greenville. Now, Jefferson County has not had much success against the Indians since they have won 3 times in 27 games. And those 3 wins are against teams that have only won 2 games this year. So really, do we know anything about Jefferson County? Because they have not beaten anybody. Even though they're 2-0 in the conference, just like Dobyns-Bennett, they've really not beaten anybody.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was like, this team could easily be undefeated. And that's the crazy thing because, like I just said, their 2 losses came by and combined 9 points. So it's like, are they really good or are they getting really lucky? I don't know which way to go because obviously we haven't seen a lot of this team
playing teams that are just bad.
Exactly. So I think what this could be too is a really good confidence booster for Dobyns-Bennett if Jefferson County is that bad. But like I said, we don't know. We
No.
we haven't been able to watch them. We haven't seen film on them. You know, we're watching obviously last year's contest, but I think this is a good opportunity for Dobbins Bennett. I'll just put it that way.
No, there was a time, and this is a long time ago, obviously for you guys, before you got here, but there was a time when Jefferson County was at perennial power. They were a little bit like Maryville, maybe not on that stage, but nobody wanted to play Jefferson County. They were just that good. And since then, they've had a lot of coaching changes and graduations and things of that nature. And obviously they're trying to get the program back to where it was. But so far in this series with Dobbins Bennett, it has been Dobbins Bennett all the way. 27 games, and Jefferson County only winning 3. Let's go to Game 4. And by going to Game 4, we jump over in the Southwest Virginia, where there will be a key game in the Mountain 7 Conference. You're going to be there Friday night.
Let's go,
Abingdon
baby.
already has a win, while Wise is still searching for that first league victory. And when I say they already have a win, I'm talking about league victory. These are two. I think you can throw Union in there too.
Yeah.
These are two of the, and there's some other teams, don't get me wrong. There's actually a lot of teams still unbeaten in Southwest Virginia, but these are two of the heavyweights right here.
Yep, I'd say so. Abingdon obviously, an impressive 20-point win over Tennessee High last week. Their run game was absolutely bonkers too. Bishop Cook and Lee Council, those guys are absolute workhorses. This Abingdon team, though, they just breed running backs. It's crazy. It's the people they've brought in, and the coaches that they have too are, they're amazing. I was doing their 2-a-days, and it's just like the intensity they bring to practice every single day is incredible, and they've got the players that can, make a deep run in the playoffs. But we're not going to look that far ahead. But in that Tennessee High win, they forced 5 turnovers, just 4 in the first half as well. So. This Abingdon defense is well-rounded, or I should say this Abingdon team is well-rounded, with the offense, being able to pass the ball, run the ball, and then the defense just doing what they do.
We got to give credit, too, because you talked about Hansel and Cook combining for 337 yards last week against Tennessee High. We got to give credit to the offensive line of Sturgill, Lucas, Singleton, and Hansel. Sounds like a law firm, but the big boys up front, they got the job done last week against the Vikings.
Hey, the hog mollies, man. I love
right.
them. The hogs up front, the big boys. No, and that's the thing, too. I think we've seen it the past couple of years with the Abingdon team is that they're just so dominant in the run game, and I think that falls on, the offensive line coach, the offensive coordinator, being able to get that type of dominance. Now, if you're Wise Central, you flip it on the other side. You got to shut down those gaps. You got to shut down the pulling guards. You got to be able to read that offensive line, because if you're able to do that, you're going to have a good chance of, at least containing Abingdon. Probably not shutting them down, but you're going to at least give yourself a chance.
Here's the only thing with Abingdon. When you look back at last week's win against Tennessee High, you have to ask yourself, we had 5 turnovers. 4 of those came in the first half.
Yep.
We still found a way to win. But if you play a better team, you turn it over that many times, you're probably not going to have a chance to win the game.
Nah, it's game over. And you can't be doing that against this Wise Central team, especially with people that they have. Their offense is loaded. Ethan Mullins, Tyson Tester, Dustin Sturgill, Matt Boggs, Braden Church. He's a former News Channel 11 Player of the Week, too. And that was actually his first start coming out of that first week. But, this Wise Central team is deep. Unfortunately, they are coming off a loss to Christiansburg, but that's only an 8-point loss. And that Christiansburg team, we've seen it a couple of times this year, that they're pretty solid. They definitely have a good squad. So it's a tough loss, but I think this Wise Central team and Abingdon team are going to battle tomorrow night.
And you mentioned that. Wise Central's playing 500 ball in the season. They are still winless in the conference, and they're riding a 2-game losing streak. So things going well at the beginning of the year, not so much in the last 2 games. So this should be a hungry team. Wise Central team that comes in on Friday night.
I think they're in a fork in the road, too, because let's say you win this game, that obviously gives you a huge confidence boost, kind of obviously snaps the losing streak, but, kind of turns this season around a little bit. I'm not going to say, totally they're going to win out the rest of the year, but the other side of that, you lose, and you're on a 3-game losing streak, and then you know how it goes in sports. When you start getting those losing streaks, it seems like every single time you lose another one, it just keeps the monkey on your back just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that chip on your shoulder just keeps on getting bigger and bigger too, and then the frustrations come out, and why can't we do anything right? And there's doubts and questions in your mind. So I mean, this is really a big game for Y Central, not just in a sense of, winning a football game, but also kind of, fork in the road type mentality, type of confidence boost.
Yeah, I agree with you too, and I think it'd be a major upset if they were able to get a win over Abingdon. Let's go to our final game. That's going to be Honaker and Chehowee, one of the hottest teams in Southwest Virginia, other than that Abingdon team this season, has been the Chehowee Warriors, who come into their game 4-0 against Honaker. And let's begin with Honaker. We'll take a look at some footage against Eastside. This is a Honaker team that not playing bad football either. I mean, they're getting it done for their head coach, Doug Herbert, his 39th and final year. And I think so far this year they're coming off a win over Grundy. And I think so far this is a team that's leaving everything out there in the football field.
Well, and that's the thing, too. They're doing it for their coach. That guy's meant so much to this program. And not just probably the program, but, the city as well, the school, everything he does. And when you're able to do something for a guy like that, and if you're these players that this is his last season, we want to kind of send him out on a high note, I mean, you're going to put everything on the field. You're going to do everything. So, if something does go wrong, or, kind of like how we just brought up Y Central, like if you're on that losing streak, these kids don't want that to happen. So there's an extra level of motivation there, which always is great in sports, no matter who you're playing. So obviously the Chilhowie team, though, they're absolutely rolling right now, man. They are good. And I actually filmed their two-a-days earlier this year, and the coach was telling me, he goes, you know what? And he has a smile on his face when he tells me, he goes, good things are going to happen this year. And I go, and you hear that every single time, in preseason, and some in the back of your head, you're like, but I could tell like there was some confidence there, and the kids had confidence. I was like, I think he's right. I think there's something special going to happen at Chilhowie.
Well, he's probably going to get his first test because this Honaker team, they had 8 players out last week. Still got the win over Grundy.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's pretty impressive. You got to keep an eye on quarterback Sean Gill. He was involved in 3 scores last week, I think 2 through the air and 1 on the ground. And then you got the running backs of Lowe and Miller. They done a pretty good job as well. In last week's game, Lowe had around 100 yards, and the Miller chipped in 54 yards. So this is a good Honaker team that is playing a really good Chehowee team. Remember, this is a non-conference game and expects to be a good one since Honaker, as I just mentioned, has only lost once. The Tigers coming to the game 3-1. They've only lost coming 2 weeks ago against Eastside. We remember that game because our player of the week for that game, Ethan Hill, he put on a show. He had 6 touchdowns. So basically what that's telling me is Chehowee's going to have to do a better job against the run.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely going to have to shut that run game down because that Honaker team, I mean, when you get some big boys up there, I've been up to that Honaker field a couple times. I've seen some of the sizes on those kids. I mean, some of them are absolutely hog mollies. So just be able to at least, like I said, clog those gaps, shut down the line, read the pulling guard, being able to move down the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's really what you have to do with this Honaker team. But if you give them an opportunity to run the ball and you keep on making mistakes on the first 2 levels, it's going to be game over.
Well, Chehowie's defense is led by Joey Widener. Last week he had 10 tackles, so he's going to have a big week again. Mm-hmm. Offensively, Chase Lewis found the end zone twice while rushing for 85 yards. So you're right. I mean, the coach told you early at the beginning of the year he thought this team would be special. So far, they have been. This is why this is one of our premier games tomorrow in Southwest Virginia. 2 teams going at it, 1 team obviously having 1 loss.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, too, is it's one of those conference boosters. Like you said, it's non-conference, but at the end of the day, like when you really push yourself and you look down the schedule and, you're able to say, all right, looking back, we beat Honaker. We can hang our hat on that. It's, not some of those teams where they're a little rough around the edges, winless teams, 1-win teams. I mean, Honaker, like I said, whenever you can beat Honaker, or if you beat Chilhowie, if you're Honaker, you can hang your hat on that. So, I mean, this is going to be an exciting game, too.
All right, folks, if we get a chance to come back next week after the Peacock and something being flushed, let me thank you for watching the Prep Football Preview brought to you by FriendshipCars.com. Make sure to watch us again every Thursday night for a preview of that week's game. Next week, we will be doing Week 8 because Week 7 of Touchdown Friday Night is tomorrow night, and then, of course, it will be Week 6 in Southwest Virginia. So check out the highlights of these games and more tomorrow night. For our man, Slater T, pushing the buttons. He's Jesse Crawl. I'm Kenny Hawkins. Thanks, and have a great night.